GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Remax, my device, my life. Coming soon.
Sheen Lac Specialty Coatings, always shining Sheen Lac.
Hello everyone, very happy to welcome Kajal Aggarwal to Galatta Plus.
I'm very happy to finally be here and I'm very happy to finally meet you.
Right, but I want you to first explain the K behind the Satyabhama. What's your initial?
So, that doesn't have any relevance or meaning in the film.
Your name is something, right?
No, so Satyabhama is my name.
Right, but the K stands for your place you come from.
Last name
Yeah.
in the film.
Did you find out what it was?
No.
God.
Can we call it Kajal?
Okay, Kajal,
Right, I mean,
Kajal Satyabhama. Yeah,
I know,
that's
Chalo
a
makes sense.
that's a very rooted name. Yeah. So, you've had this phenomenal run in Telugu and Tamil cinema, especially. You've been in several. Heroes have repeated you as a co-star and then directors, right? It's like NTR Jr., we're talking about Ram Charan, we're talking about Vijay and Tamil. So there's an interesting thing that you said a while ago. You said that I'm lucky to have been accepted in all industries. Is luck all that matters?
No. Hard work along with luck.
Okay.
I wouldn't prioritize one over the other because I feel that both require an equal ratio. And however hard you work, if you're not there at the right place at the right time, it won't work out for you in our industry. Having said that, even if you are at like all the places all the time, but you're not hardworking enough, you're not perseverant enough, you don't give it all and more than you can possibly give,
Right.
it will not work out for you.
Right.
So I think these two factors are of primary importance, along with quite a few others.
Right.
Like you've got to really up your game, you've got to have that sort of patience, you've got to wait it out, you've got to be a little bit crazy.
But do you also have to be a little proactive from your side? For example, the big heroes control the game. I mean, we're calling it a game, right? So they get to say, and usually the trend is to not repeat a heroine because I once heard a famous director, let's not name him now, saying the pairing won't be fresh. They've already been paired in a movie, and yet you've had these multiple pairings with the big successful heroes. So is there also from your side, let's say a relationship, like a friendship with Vijay or a friendship with NTR Jr. or a friendship with Ram Charan or whoever, which allows this, you to come back to a movie and like kind of go on? Is that as well? Is there something proactive, or is it just like you get a call and say, Kajal, can you act in this movie, and that's all that happens?
So most often people around me keep complaining that I'm not friendly enough.
Okay.
And from my end, I feel like, okay, I'm being professional, I'm being friendly, but I go back home to my friends.
Right.
And then I'm the sort of person who is not great. I don't have this acumen or skill where I intentionally keep in touch or text on Diwali and New Year's. I don't do that kind of stuff. It's not me. And I'd be forcing myself to do it. Hence, I just don't.
Right.
And I've never done that. When I meet my co-actors or I meet my directors, it's great. It's like literally picking up from where we left last. But I don't have this thing in me where I consciously keep in touch.
Right.
It's difficult for me to do that.
Right. I didn't mean to sound, like put down your efforts, but sometimes, there is a certain, not this kind of, sending Diwali greetings, not that, but something else that makes people aware that, yes, I'm still there, I'm doing these things. Is it just the fact that you're appearing in all these movies? Is that enough? It's just the films?
Yes. I wouldn't give light to really anything else because I hardly even go out, to be honest.
Right.
So besides my cinema, I'm quite a home bird.
Nice.
I used to party till a few years ago. Now I hardly have the time.
Right.
Initially, I hardly went out because I was always at any given point of time doing about 8 to 9 films a year. And I was jumping between amongst 3 industries. So it was really hard for me to be able to step out or to go do anything else. Along with that, you have so many personal things to do.
Right.
Right? And you've got your own set of family and friends.
Right.
So where is the
And now
time?
you have your own family.
I have
Yeah.
my own family.
Yeah.
That's why I said that now it's almost non-existent. And my husband sometimes jokingly says, he's like, you're not the girl I wanted to marry. I mean, you've totally changed.
Changed in what way?
I hardly step out.
Okay.
And he loves to go out, he loves to have a nice time. I just don't have the bandwidth anymore. You know, working and then coming home to a baby and then figuring things out. And with your personal stuff, trying to go, fit in a workout, where is the time?
Right.
Like you only have, unfortunately, 16 hours a day.
Right. At different points in an actor's career, whether it's a hero or a heroine, there are different reasons one makes certain choices, right? So let's talk about Satyabhama. What made you say, at this point, this is the kind of movie I should do?
Very interesting. I have been since a while now, since a few years, been wanting to take on more responsibility on my shoulders.
Right.
I've been wanting to, let's call a spade a spade. I've been greedy and I've been wanting a meatier piece of the pie.
Right.
I've been fortunate to have worked with amazing names in the industry. I've again had the fortune of playing fabulous characters in the films that I've done. But I wanted to, for a while, be the center of attention. And this does not come from any point of, there's no external competition. It's just this internal thing about wanting to do more.
Right.
Taking on more responsibility, being able to impact people on a larger scale. And I've heard a lot of scripts. I've even attempted at doing quite a few things in Tamil more than Telugu, where I have taken on the headline, the film, and taken on more responsibility, but somehow it's not worked out.
Right.
I became very iffy and cautious about the package. Having a great script, having great content is one thing, but having filmmakers to actually go ahead and deliver on that is another ballgame altogether. Right. So I then became conscious about the kind of films I was choosing with regards to the director who was behind it, with regards to the team who could actually deliver on what the vision that they had, that large vision.
Right.
And somehow with Satyabhama, it all fell into place. I was at the brink of shooting for this film. I just had my baby. He was a couple of months old at that point of time. And the makers came, gave me a fabulous narration. And there I was. I was like, okay, this is great. I want to tell stories like that. I want to do roles which are this impactful, which create a positive influence on society. And the filmmakers are great. Nice. So why would I say no? There was literally at that point, I was like, I'm game. I'm on.
Right.
You tell me when you want to go on floors.
Right. One of the things I really enjoyed about the promotions of Satyabhama was, I think it was maybe around your birthday, they released this teaser or trailer or whatever it is, in which you projected like a mass hero. It's like, if you first see it's not even that. It's first we see your hands and we see the bangles on them, and then you're slowly walking towards this prison, and then we see you in a long shot, but we don't see your face yet, and then we see your fist when you're punching somebody, and then you come outside, and then your face is still hidden by this other cop or whatever. And the slow reveal, right? That's what the hero introduction is all about.
Correct.
And you're getting this heroine introduction. The kind of stuff that used to happen to Vijay Shanti and other people earlier when they were doing these action roles.
She's a big inspiration for me for this role, by the way.
Right.
We'll come to that later.
Right. First of all, how did it feel yourself? Because you've acted with so many mass heroes in so many films. How did it feel to finally get this for yourself?
Oh, I was over the moon, to be very honest with you. I have witnessed all my co-actors doing shots like that. And I've always been like, with dreamy eyes and with those starstruck eyes, you're like, oh wow, what a phenomenal shot. It's not about the actor, it's not about anything else, it's not about that moment, it's about the construction of that beautiful shot. Just the technicality of it is so wonderful. I've always admired it and been like, oh wow, someday. And then when we were shooting this, they were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the reveal, blah, blah, blah. At that point, I was too busy to envisage what exactly would translate on screen. But I mean, I kind of got it theoretically. Right. But then I did not really have the time at that point of time to envisage what they mean till I actually saw it.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I was like, this is, first of all, it's shattering so many misconceptions. We're breaking boundaries. We are really smashing it out of the park. There are so many metaphors associated with this one shot. I was like, this is amazing.
Right.
And hence, it validated my faith in the makers.
Right. When you choose a movie like, now you're going to act in Kaanappa, that's just news just come out. What makes you pick something like that? Because there, the center of attraction, or the center of attention rather, is going to be the hero, Kaanappa. That's Kaanappa's story.
Correct.
So this is your story. That is the hero story. So you want a balance of both.
I want a balance of both. Absolutely.
Right.
You hit the nail on its head.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to now steer clear of the regular
Right.
quote-unquote commercial cinema.
Right.
So I still love my regular stuff. I still love playing the damsel in distress. There's no harm. I have nothing against it.
Right.
And I've done it for the past 17 years.
Right.
It's my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I enjoy the thumkas and the jhatkas, and I love all that. And I love dressing up pretty. But I feel I'm ready to try different genres. And I feel like I am ready to take on different sort of performance-oriented roles.
Right.
And I feel I'm ready for the balance.
Right. Right.
You know?
But the important thing, I think, is that you are still around, because you started exactly 20 years ago with Kyun Ho Gaya Na as Aishwarya Rai's younger sister.
Yeah.
Like, okay, small role, but that's like 20 years ago. And then you're still here, which is amazing, because this is a very cruel industry for heroines. You know, as horrible as it is to say that. And, you know, like everyone from Meryl Streep to everybody's complained about how, you know, once you get to be a certain age, you know, there's very little parts for women actors. But, you know, to get past that, it's and get roles like this that are centered around you, I think that's quite something. Would you say perseverant, or you're a perseverant person?
Yes, I do believe I'm perseverant. But first of all, Meryl Streep, I mean, she's the goddess of acting. She can't complain.
No, but she was saying that at one point she was finding it very difficult because, you know, she was just saying,
just
she was saying that there's this young girl, this pretty, like what you said, the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Then there's like somebody's mom or aunt or something like that, and there's driving Miss Daisy, as
Yeah,
she called it,
exactly.
you know, where you're this old woman at the back of a car. So
Yes.
there's these three roles, and it's only now that it started opening up, is what
Yes.
she said. Yeah.
So I totally agree with that point of view. I feel we are now in this beautiful era of cinema where gender is not that important.
Right.
Roles can be done by anybody, and there are a lot of films that are being made, like we were discussing off camera, like, you know, the film that we were talking about. There are roles which are equally demanding. People want to watch it. With the influx of so many OTT platforms and so many things doing the rounds where people 24/7 have their screens in front of them, there is a market for everyone and everything. So I guess, yes, perseverance is one point for sure, but that's a personal aspect. We'll come to that later. I feel the market by itself is so big.
Right.
And with COVID and with this entire lockdown that we had, people were watching global cinema. People were watching shows from all over the world in languages that we couldn't fathom or would never imagine watching. And that became such a normal part of our lives.
Right.
You know? And I'm not talking about just us who belong to this industry. I'm talking about everybody.
Right.
Generic. So that became very normal. Now, having said that, of course, Indian cinema would open its doors to doing different sort of things, experimenting with different roles. Actors, their mindsets changed. You know, top stars, their mindsets changed. Nobody would look at themselves as a top star anymore.
Right.
Everyone wanted to start from base level actor, from acting. And that became very important. And I think that's a wonderful thing for our industry.
Right.
Because it really helps you up your game.
Right. Right.
So I think that's what's happened. That, in my opinion, that's the entire change that has come about. And yeah, coming to perseverance, yes, I do believe I am perseverant. I also feel that I have stuck to my beliefs very strongly. In the sense, I have never really, of course, all of us as actors have ups and downs. But in my downs,
I think everybody in life has that.
of course, everyone.
Yeah.
In my downs, or in my low period, let's call it that, it wasn't really a down. Of course, I was anxious, but I did not just do anything that came my way.
Right.
We all go through stress and anxiety, of course. But, and of course, when this is quite personal, when I was pregnant or when I had taken a sabbatical, when I just delivered my child, I went through my fair share of anxiety and worry that, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Is it ever going to be the same for me again? How am I going to manage this?
Right.
Or am I even going to get those kind of lucrative offers ever again? I thought of that, to be very honest. But this is where perseverance came in. I held my fort and I waited patiently.
Right.
Till I was satisfied with what I was getting, in whichever way. Either the role was meaty or I wanted to work with that particular director. Kaanappa, for example. Now what you asked me a little earlier. It's not centered around me, for sure. We all know that, obviously. The story is about Kaanappa. So the reason why I wanted to be a part of the film was because I am a huge mythology, history fan.
Right.
To a level where I'm pretty obsessed. I love our Indian gods and goddesses. Like, I actually study about it in my free time. When I got this offer, I'm playing a key role, which is something that I've always... It's been on my bucket list. Like, I've always wanted to do a role like that.
Right.
For the sake of the fantasy of it.
And you've never done something like that?
No, never.
Okay.
So I was like, wow, oh my gosh, I get to play this? Hell yeah. Even if it's just for a few days, it's okay.
Right.
I'm okay to experiment. I have no qualms. I mean, I don't want, when I say I'm greedy for the bigger piece of pie, it doesn't mean that I want it all the time.
Right.
I'm okay with taking a back seat for the sake of the role.
Right. And for the sake of a genre that you...
Correct.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating.
Right. You said that for the longest time, you were quite happy with this damsel in distress, whatever, the generic heroine role that you were doing.
Yeah.
Can you name something that's your favorite of all the generic roles that you've done?
From what I've done or just generally?
From what you've done.
Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
In Telugu.
Right. I thought you said Tupaki also.
Vivekam.
Okay.
Vivekam is more damsel in distress than... I'm only talking about damsel, like I'm only addressing that.
Right.
Tupaki is still stronger.
Yeah.
She's quite a girl of her own. Vivekam is the more damsel in distress.
Right.
But I really enjoyed it.
Right.
I mean, I have nothing against it at all. I felt it was quite powerful in its own way. She is pregnant. She's devoted to her husband. And I know so many women who are like that.
Right.
My mom, she's devoted to us as a family.
Right.
And I'm devoted to my husband and my family. So I really enjoyed it.
Right.
Regardless of whether she's a damsel in distress or not, the fact that the role was very well designed, that was very well portrayed, and the director and the actor was so fabulous. I had a great time.
But when a film like that does not perform to expectations, how do you take that? Because you're close, everything worked for you. The director was there, the actor was there, the role is something that you identify with, you're connecting it to your mother, but then something does not happen, and it's a very...
That's the
you
way
can't predict,
exactly.
But how do you take it?
You feel bad, but then...
Do you move on quickly?
Yeah. You got to take it with a pinch of salt.
But you are able to do that. You move on quickly. Or do you sit and brood for a while?
No, I don't actually. I don't.
Do you sulk?
No.
Okay.
So for me, I feel bad, of course. I mean, I'd be inhuman to not feel bad about it, especially when you've invested so much of yourself in any particular thing. But I have never really been that attached to anyone or anything or any situation. Luckily for me, I really consider it as a blessing. I can move on at a decent pace.
Right. I knew someone like you. There's this friend of mine. She's an army kid. Her dad was in the army. Kept moving every year or every 2 years. So I met her much later in life, and she told me, I don't have any friends. I said, what do you mean you don't have any friends? I said, no, I know a lot of people that I like, but I don't actually have any friends because I never stayed in one place long enough to develop a friend.
Correct.
So I'm like, when you're saying I'm not attached, I'm just reminded of her. You know?
But I fully get it. I mean, and I really feel that way. I'm not just saying it for the sake of saying it. I feel bad about it, but right from the first day of my career, I'm not attached to the result or the fruit at all.
Right.
I enjoy the process of filmmaking. I enjoy doing what I do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is great. I love these treats.
Yes. What is this? Paneer tikka. Oh my God. That's my protein fix for the day. After my masala chai.
Are you on any diet?
Just like to have some protein.
Fair enough.
And especially if it's spiced up the
Nice,
way it is,
exactly.
right? It's
Masala. And
tadka
fully,
and all that.
fully,
So,
yum.
Yeah.
So coming back to what I was saying. So I am not really attached to the fruit of the labor. In my head, to be very honest with you, and I say this to my friends all the time, I consider myself as a glorified laborer.
What does that mean?
My mentality is the same as a daily wage worker.
Okay.
And I mean this with utmost respect. I only live for that particular day. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm okay with that.
So you're not a future planner at all?
Unfortunately not. I can't. And of course that's got its pros and cons, but luckily I married someone who could plan very well.
Nice.
In advance. So I leave it to him. to do all of that. Before I had him in my life, my parents used to take over this department of my life because I really could not. I can only, and hence I can work with directors who are strict or really kind, or it's okay.
Right.
Their personality does not matter to me. I am only focused on my job.
Right.
And it's literally like I have blinders on because I do my thing and I get out of there.
Right.
So then that's it. I mean, how will you get attached? It's not possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even when a film does really well and say that I've got accolades for it and people have appreciated my performance, I'm happy. But I'm not ecstatic or going mad with joy. I can balance it.
Right.
I'm fine. And my mom has told me this, which I've kind of lived by this statement like my gospel. Don't take your success to your mind and failure to your heart.
Right.
And I feel like I have lived by that naturally. It's just happened that way for me.
Then you're very fortunate because, sometimes these things, right, they sound very nice, but they're very difficult to implement
I agree.
in life because it's like moving on or whatever it is, it is. But I'm glad you're able to do that. Now, you mentioned marriage in the Hindi film industry. Let's take Deepika. She still gets to be an action heroine and fighter. Let's take Alia. She still gets to be a romantic lead in Rocky Aur Rani. Whereas in the Tamil and Telugu film industries, we are still a little reluctant about, I don't want to phrase this the wrong way, but I think you know what I mean, right?
Of course.
So a married woman can still play certain roles, but they have to be strong roles like the one here, but they will not get to do the stuff that they were earlier. No, I'm not saying like that it's a wrong thing.
No,
but
I get what you're saying.
Right.
Of course.
Why do you think that's so?
I think we still have a little bit of a stereotype attached.
Okay.
I'm hoping that we can get rid of it soon. I also feel it's only now that this entire new generation of actresses are married and have children.
No, but there was Sharmila Tagore, there was Hema Malini,
Yep.
there was, a lot of people,
Yep.
It's just, not just these two, but it's never happened here.
The entire crop,
To,
yeah.
to that extent. Because once you're married, and even if you re-enter or something like that, you get what is like typically called the strong roles. Like I was very happy to see Vidya Balan do a Tumhari Sulu. There's a sexual overtone to the role. She's very normal, she's natural, she's having, she's enjoying a certain thing. I don't think that's very easy out here because when I saw the remake in Tamil, it was a little desexualized. And is that a cultural thing also?
I've never really thought about that angle, but
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want.
no. I'm happy to talk about it. That's fine. I'm just voicing out my thoughts as we speak. Actually, I'm kind of framing my thoughts about this as well. I don't think it's a cultural thing.
Okay.
I think the audience starts accepting when we as makers start providing.
Okay.
So it would be wrong of me to say that the audience is not ready for it. The audience is very normal. And the audience is definitely ready for it. If we watch these kind of things, if we watch sexual cinema in, just sexual because of the example that you just said, in English or in Hindi, why do we not in the South? So we as makers need to start exploring and experimenting with more genres in order to expand the acceptance of the audience.
Right. Have you ever thought of becoming a producer so that you could act in exactly the kind of roles that you want to?
I've thought about it, but I've not gotten down to doing anything about it yet.
Okay.
I've thought about it very strongly. But right now my plate is too full. So maybe at a later stage,
Right.
if something really interests me and I want to definitely go ahead and back it.
Right.
I need a knife.
Yeah, what is that? Cheese.
No,
Ah,
egg whites.
egg whites. Okay.
Egg whites with toast.
Wow.
I've not had breakfast here.
Oh, wow. And it's midday.
No.
So, this is something that I read.
Sorry
And-
to interrupt you. Coming back to our previous point, I just want to make one last point. I'm really hoping this changes.
No, me too. It's like it's a little strange to kind of say, if you're not married, you can play certain roles, and because an actor is an actor, the personal circumstances don't change the acting capabilities or whatever it is.
Agreed.
So,
Correct.
Right.
Also, just giving you my example. I mean, I can only talk from my own example. So what I did was, I had my commitments before I got married. I got married in COVID. I honored and respected my commitments. I went ahead and did them. I traveled a lot, which was a little, thank you so much, which was difficult for my husband to understand at that point of time because obviously, I mean, He's never seen what our industry is all about. I was trying to explain to him all through the way that this is how it is. There's a lot of travel involved. I'm shooting here one day. I'm shooting in Polachi the next day. I'm shooting XYZ the third day. It doesn't matter where you are. Geography doesn't really make a difference in my career. Right. So kept trying to talk him through this. Finished my films, the ones that I had to do. I got pregnant. Right after I delivered my child, I did Indian 2. Right. Which has possibly been the hardest role of my life.
In what way?
Physically demanding. I had to be strong in order to do that. I jumped on a horse 2 months postpartum and I was horse riding. I had barely healed, but you got to do what you got to do. I feel I was, but yes, like you said, that was still a strong role, but I had signed that role 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just that because of various situations, it got pushed to this level. Yeah. And then I was at a brink in my career where I either do it or let it pass. Right. I'm very grateful to Shankar sir for having waited for me all that while. Right. And he actually waited for me where he said, you don't worry, you come, according to my shoot schedule, you come in the last leg. Right. And I will try to finish as much as I can before I take you on board, so you will have time with your child. Right. Now I really respect that and I really admire him for that. And seriously full gratitude, otherwise I wouldn't be able to accommodate the film. Right. You know? And yet it was so hard for me. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Like, what was my point behind this? I've forgotten.
It takes a while, you know, like...
No, I was trying to get somewhere.
No, I know. You know, I'm unable to recall because the spice in this has gotten to me, and you know, I've always forgotten that it is, and I'm sweating bullets. If you don't notice this, I don't know. But
Andhra Pradesh and Telangana.
Yeah, I know. So that's I'm doing my very game effort so that not to appear like a loser.
It's not showing on your face. You're doing a great job. Okay, but sorry. So. No. I don't remember where I was going with that entire trajectory, but point being that I feel that if we are offered, we will take, you know?
What?
The meteor roles or maybe the pivotal roles in films.
Right. Oh, we were talking about Deepika and Alia.
Correct. Versus why does this not happen in our side of the country.
Right.
But I feel things are still changing.
Right.
Like see Nayanthara, for example. I love how she conducts her filmography.
Actually, that's a great example. Yeah, that's
So I love her choices.
I think she's probably the one exception, right? Yeah. Who actually gets these romantic leads and yeah.
So and still yet at her terms and conditions, it's great.
Right. You know, sometime back, this is about almost 10 years ago. I just stumbled upon an interview recently where you'd said that you know, in the corporate industry. People get married, people get babies, and then they carry on with their work. Why isn't this the case with films? Have things changed 10 years from then? Obviously, right? That's why we are having this conversation now. Yes. Okay.
Yes, thank God, yes. And I'm so happy to be at this juncture of our industry as well as of my life.
Right.
Because I am still, I mean, I've worked with wonderful people.
Right.
With Satyabhama, I was talking about Shankar sir earlier. But even with Satyabhama, my producers and my director has been so understanding.
Right.
So I think it requires a lot of kindness and compassion to kind of get where you're coming from, because it's not easy.
Right.
It's probably the hardest challenge of my life. Trying to balance it out or trying to juggle two extremely important factors of my life. And I feel like it's still work in progress. I still deal with a lot of feelings on a daily basis, but at least it's a start.
Right. At what point in your career did films become this extremely important part of your life? Was it right from the start? Was it like a childhood dream, or can you name some point where you felt, wow, this is what I think I'm meant to do?
I think it took me around 7 to 8 films.
Right. You know, around the time Magadhira happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably. I had never envisaged becoming an actor. Nobody from my family has ever been in the film industry before. So I never really had any exposure to it. It was a total moment of chance, destiny, an encounter and a tryst with destiny. And I was, in fact, in my final year of college, I was working. So when I did Kyun Ho Gaya Na, that was just like a childhood thing. I was in school at that point of time. And I somehow knew the casting director. She couldn't really find anyone last minute, so she said, just do it. It's going to be for 10 days, come for a holiday. And I thought that was so enticing. I was like, oh wow, come on, let's go. So literally did that for fun. And I thought, okay, great, this is going to be so good for me, blah, 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 let's just go. And that was it.
Right.
After that, I was in college. I was in my final year of college. I graduated. For my graduation, I required this internship, and we were graded on the internship. I was working at a multinational company doing marketing management, and that's what I always thought I'd eventually take up in my life. You know, like I'd be working at some really cool place. I'd probably be selling brands, strategizing for brands. That's what I imagined myself doing.
Right.
There I was conducting photo shoots for this particular brand. I was introduced to the photographer. He said, oh, why don't you model? Like, you know, why don't you give it a try? Never thought about it.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that's not a bad idea. Maybe I can make an extra buck and maybe I can fund my own MBA. Like, I won't ask Papa for anything. I did it. I got my pictures clicked. I never did a single thing in modeling. The first offer I got was for a movie. I rejected the offer. I thought, oh, what am I, like, how's it going to be? Maybe not. I still ended up doing it. And then it was just one movie after the other. And it just worked out that way. I mean, touch wood, thank God. This is why I give 50%, I factor in the luck aspect of it.
Right.
You know?
You said right place at the right time.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is how it happened for me. But I still had a plan B. I still knew that, okay, if I'm not successful at this, what am I going to do? I still need something to go back to, right? I still depend on my education. I still need all of that. I wasn't a trained actor. I learned on the job. I wasn't a trained dancer. Figured it out as we went along.
Right.
I wish I had the training. You know, it would have just given me that extra polish. But I somehow never had the time to train.
Right.
Luckily for me, I never had the time to train. I just realized that I have to learn this process while I'm in front of the camera. Because I have no formal education in the subject. And I picked it up on the way.
Right.
And that's how it just worked out for me.
So is there a performance that you've done apart from, let's say, this upcoming Satyabhama, where you say, listen, I really like myself in this movie. I've really done a good job.
Strangely, wherever I like myself has never worked out.
Which is the one that you liked yourself?
I like myself in Sita.
Okay.
In Telugu. It never worked out. I like myself in this Hindi movie called Do Lafzon Ki Kahani.
Yeah, with Randeep Huda.
It tanked, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the role and I thought, oh, I'm doing a good job.
Right.
So clearly I'm not doing something right. Considering it's not working.
And that's a movie where you didn't have any makeup on and you were quite
No,
natural
nothing.
and yeah.
I play a
Black person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. So I'm saying maybe you should not like
These kind of roles?
the Satyabhama.
Oh God.
You know, so that it becomes a hit, you know.
Touch wood, I hope so.
No, but you were talking about how Vijay Shanti was a big inspiration for you in this role.
Yes.
In what way? Apart from the fact that you're playing a cop.
Her versatility.
Okay.
And her on-screen persona.
Right.
And you know, she does not make action seem, she makes action seem effortless. She also makes power seem normal.
That's a great point, actually. I mean, you just radiate it.
You don't have to act powerful. That's redundant. If you're acting, it means you're not doing a good job. So you need to just be it. And that's what, when I observe her on screen, that's what is my biggest takeaway. She's very powerful. Her roles are very powerful. But she is just in her own skin.
Right.
And that's why I think that she was so phenomenal in this entire action genre. Power is more in the mind than in your punches.
Now, you mentioned a horse riding sequence in Indian 2. Tell me something that was really difficult to pull off in Satyabhama.
The action.
Okay.
I did my stunts. And I even tried my hand at this entire genre for the first time.
Right.
I can't compare it to anything I've done before. Because, like you said earlier, it's like an action hero.
Right.
And I have genuinely given it my best shot. I've put in all the efforts that I possibly could. I wasn't that strong physically. It's probably been my weakest physical strength-wise period of my life. Because I wasn't, my baby was only a couple of months old. But, so I wasn't back to my entire routine with a gusto. But I have attempted at doing things to my best possible capability and trained really hard for these things. Luckily, my experience with Kalari Payattu for Indian 2 helped me quite a bit here.
Right.
You know, because Kalari is an art which obviously, it's this intrinsic art which strengthens you from within. It's not really about the moves like any other martial art is, but it's just this innate sense of strength that you have.
Right.
So I feel the action in this film has been like the toughest I've ever done.
Right.
The stunts and the moves and the rotating in the air moves, and it's been really hard.
Yeah, and it's training with a stunt team and all that. Yeah.
Yes, and I trained intensely. I mean, I would take 3 weeks to train before we went on set for the action episode.
Yeah.
And then all through the night, I remember we were shooting this climax fight, which is like a very crucial point in the film. I was, we had night shoot, and I was exercising all night long. So I would give the shot, come back, stretch. Otherwise, my body would go into a spasm.
Right.
And I wouldn't allow myself to spasm because I can't afford it. A, there's no time to recover. B, I don't have time for injuries. C, I need to go back to a baby.
Yeah.
So I can't afford to have anything happen to me.
Right.
So I would have a physiotherapist, I would have my trainer. I had a team who was helping me deal with it.
Right.
And then I'd be bruised and battered and I'd be like, oh gosh, this is hurting so hard. But then they'd stretch me out and then it would vanish. And I'm like, okay, great, I'm good for the next shot now.
Right.
So I guess it's just about figuring it out.
This is another thing you learned on the job.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, you just said that you learned on the job, right? You're not a trained actor. And you said one of the things in a recent interview, you said something you learned from Allu Arjun in Arya 2, which is that, when the director says cut, don't switch off the emotional state you're in because, you want to be in that state for a while so that it helps the process. Tell me something that, because of you working with Kamal Haasan in Indian 2, something that you picked up from watching him.
So many things, yeah. It's been an honor to share screen with him.
Right.
He's truly the master. He's like an institute, walking, talking institute. I consider myself so fortunate to have worked on this particular film with him. I actually had the good fortune to witness him in front of my eyes doing all those amazing things. And he doesn't, like I said, I feel with these actors who are such big superstars, even though their reputation precedes them, the stardom precedes them, I feel that when it comes to acting, nobody can keep it more real and more believable than they can.
Right.
And Kamal sir, Chiranjeevi sir, all these legendary actors are just something else to work with. Coming to Kamal sir, I definitely learned a lot. Let me think of the appropriate example to tell you. Kamal sir's timing. Mm-hmm. It's just something else. And he does something with his eyes and the camera. It's very unexplainable, but I feel it translates when you watch him on screen. It's literally magic. I don't know what he does, but it's magic.
So were you able to implement anything from that learning in Satyabhama?
I tried my best.
Okay, like for example?
I tried to keep the timing real.
Okay.
I took it slow. I wasn't in a rush to finish off the shot.
Okay. And earlier you were like trying to get done with the shot?
Kind of. I wouldn't say I was trying to hurry it up, but I would say that I'd try to wrap it up as soon as I can. Not really. I don't know how to explain myself.
Was it more like these are my lines, this is what the directors told me.
Now let's do it and finish it.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
But for Satyabhama, I tried to stay in that moment. I tried to personalize that. I tried to be Satyabhama more than trying to wrap up my lines.
Right.
Or wrap up is wrong. More than trying to get the dialogue right.
Right.
And the shot being okayed.
And maybe because you've been in these industries so long, the language is no longer that alien to you.
Of course.
So now you don't have to concentrate that much on getting the lip sync or the words
you're
right.
absolutely right.
Right.
You're
So
absolutely right.
that helps as well.
That does.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
In fact, it's so strange because when I do bilinguals or I do a movie in multiple languages, I find it easier to emote in a Telugu or a Tamil vis-a-vis Hindi.
Right.
Because of the body of experience I've had here versus there.
Right. How many Hindi films have you done actually, apart from The Love Song Ki?
3.
Okay.
Do Lafzon Ki Kahani, Singham, Special 26.
Yeah, Special Shabis, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one, yeah. So you didn't like the movie, which is why the film became a hit.
I hope I can stick to that.
Yeah. So what next? Yeah, obviously Kaanappa next, but okay, you're a person who lives for the day, but still there must be some what next thing happening, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's not only my rules. Still live in society, still committed to people. So, eagerly awaiting the release of Satyabhama in a couple of days. Have Indian 2 releasing soon. Immediately after, I start work on a new Hindi film. Yes.
Can you talk about it? Not yet.
In a while. Maybe once after they announce. And right after, I start work on another Tamil film. Right after.
Nice.
Yeah.
And these are all projects you can't name.
Too early. Let the makers first put out something and then maybe I'll talk about it in detail. In the interim, I'm listening to a lot of Telugu scripts. I have liked a couple of things that I'm trying to zero down on. But I'm very clear that now I don't want to crowd my life like the way I would probably do it earlier.
You know, you sound like somebody who has a long-term plan. You don't sound like a person who lives for the day.
I'm very impulsive.
This sounds like somebody who has a plan.
This sounds like a mother.
Okay.
I think from the point of view of how I want to take it easy
Right.
because I want a balance.
Oh, thank you. This is
A little late in the day,
chutney? Oh, yeah, this would have helped a little earlier. Yeah, but thank you.
I have a little bit more.
I will.
Maybe you can douse it in chutney and not feel the spice.
Yeah.
So I was saying that basically,
This is literally what I'm going to do. Douse
oh,
it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about it. I don't want to clutter myself because my priorities have genuinely been divided now. And I need time for my baby. So it's going to be one movie at a time rather than doing like 4 films at one point of time.
Right. So, because I've consumed so much masala, I have to ask you a masala question to end this interview.
Okay, go ahead.
What was it like to see 2 of your co-stars, frequent co-stars, Ram Charan and NTR Jr., having this big Oscar moment in RRR,
So much pride. I was so excited. I was glued to the TV.
Right.
I was like, oh, wow, because I've worked with them closely. We share a great camaraderie. I was like, oh, wow, I'm so insanely proud of them.
Right.
They are really hardworking people and they're so professional that they deserve all the success in the world. And they're so talented, first and foremost.
Right.
I felt like, oh, they've really taken the bar higher. They've given all of us an aspiration. How amazing is that? As an industry, they have brought so much recognition, goodwill, pride. I just think there's so much positivity attached to our South industry. So I was incredibly proud of them.
Right.
I remember texting the 2 of them right after. And I was like, wow, the way you guys conducted yourselves and the way you guys spoke and everything about it, everything about that moment was truly global.
Right. And that was, again, the director that kind of made your career.
Rajmouli sir. Forever, forever grateful.
Right. Well, not to say that the earlier films were not important, but every actor needs that one big
Milestone.
push,
Of
like
course.
that one big
Milestone.
push.
Yeah, for sure.
Magadira was your...
Magadira was mine.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it was that moment of, for me as well. You asked me a little earlier that how many movies did I know from day one?
Right.
So, for me, after working with Rajmouli sir, after Magadira, and I'm not talking about the success of the film. At that point of time, I didn't even understand what a big deal this is going to be.
Right.
Today it's a cult film. And generations will enjoy it. Like, I feel that that's the kind of movie he makes. And that's his vision on the whole. But I felt that the process of working and learning from him was so incredible that will stay with me forever.
Did you ask him why he cast you?
Yes.
What did he say?
It's a very interesting story.
Because you were relatively new at that point.
I was very new at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
It's a very interesting story, actually. I was scheduled to do the film just before Magadira, Yamadonga, with Tarak. And somehow that did not work out. And at that point of time, I was 1 film old. I was doing Lakshmi Kalyanam, my first film. Because it did not work out, he very humbly and very sweetly said, hey, listen, I'm sorry, this is not happening. I'll take you for my next.
Wow.
Nobody knew what his next was going to be. So I said, no problem, sir, of course, whatever, like, however it works. And at that point, he did a photo shoot with me to prove to everybody that I am his Mitravinda. And I couldn't be happier, and I couldn't be more grateful and appreciative and grateful for the fact that I got to work with a legendary, visionary filmmaker like him.
Seriously, yeah. Yeah, actually, that is another right place, right time.
Like I said,
Yeah. So.
otherwise I would have done Yamadunga, which is a phenomenal film as well. But you know what I mean?
But the scale of this was...
Of course,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, I was too young to understand how big this is going to be.
Yeah.
I couldn't even envisage that.
That's been the word of the interview, envisage.
And
I think
you've said a lot.
you've used it about, I think, 3-4 times. But
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so let me...
I sometimes get stuck on these words,
Yeah,
random
so let
words.
me envisage a success for Satyabhama.
Oh, how sweet. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lovely chatting with you.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Remax. My device, my life. Coming soon.
Sheen Lac Specialty Coatings. Always shining. Sheen Lac.